Welcome to the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Here we talk about the connection between creativity and healing, and how we are creative and how creativity helps us heal mentally, physically, and emotionally. Join us now. Hey everyone, Larissa Russell of Creative You Healing, and welcome to the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Today I have with me Megan Wagner. Megan creates watercolor, acrylic, and mixed media pieces of art and helps people discover their own natural creativity. She used to suffer from stress and anxiety during her time working in a toxic corporate environment until she took on the challenge of learning how to paint with watercolors. The beauty of painting helped her take back control over her mental health, which is something that has always been important for her because it's what drives her creativity as an artist. Nowadays, she teaches others how they can tap into their own natural creativity and alleviate stress or anxiety through art-based activities like painting or drawing, so they can be more empowered in their work and personal life. So welcome, Megan.
Hi, Larissa. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. You are the perfect guest to have with that bio, I have to say. So can you share some of your story and the path that's brought you here?
Right, absolutely. So my journey started when I've always been a marketing professional. So that's what my background is in. So I've had to have an element of creativity to my career from the get-go. And what ended up happening was back in, I think it was about 2014, I found myself in a very daunting place in my life professionally. And I was working, I was one of the youngest person or my executive team. I worked for a nonprofit, but it was very much had a toxic corporate environment to it, which was actually pretty sad because nonprofits are supposed to make you feel good, but this one unfortunately didn't. And I was around a lot of very negative and toxic people, negative and toxic practices. And for me, it really stifled my creativity that I'd been required to have throughout my whole career working in marketing. And so what ended up happening, I got to a point where I know I needed to have a creative outlet because I was very, very stressed. I would say at the time I was very depressed. I was extraordinarily unhappy. And so I needed to find a way to find my joy again. And I want to say it was around Christmas time. I had found there was a little locally owned art supply store, not too far from where I lived at the time in the Buffalo, New York area. And I went in, I was like, oh my God, this is the cutest store ever. It's got all these paints and like, it's just out of like a storybook, right? And so what ended up happening is I saw that they were offering watercolor classes. And so it was around Christmas time in February. That's when I signed up for my very first class. And to me, it was an 8-week class and I just soaked it up. I was just I was challenged creatively, I can't talk creatively. And so it was, I met new people that I ordinarily wouldn't have met. And it really was a bright spot for me. And I kept at it and I kept, and it kept on and off. And I think that's the one thing about creativity is that it goes in, ebbs and flows, right? So there are times where all you want to do is paint. And then there are times you just don't want to do anything, right? But what I ended up realizing is that there needed to be that constant outlet for me when I needed it. And so it really helped me to stretch my creativity and also helped me, with my own mental health, which is more important now than ever. And so that's my story. Again, as a corporate professional, I needed that outlet desperately. And then not too long after that, I actually ended up losing that job, which, again, loss comes in many different forms and for many different reasons. And that caused me to start my own marketing business. And I'm a marketing strategist and brand coach along with my art. And so for me, it helps me be more creative in my business. It helps me serve my clients more creatively. And so it's really just a wonderful outlet for me. And it's immensely helped me.
I love that. I love that. It's so funny when, excuse me, sorry. when you said about, when you work for a nonprofit, it's supposed to be a good environment. I came from a very toxic nonprofit as well, and was let go. I was
Two
like,
kindred spirits here, I guess, right?
and I needed to. So I'd been doing this off the side of my desk, and then it was like, oh, well, obviously I've been given this opportunity. So yeah.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah, so along the same path there. And you touched on this, but what does healing with creativity mean to you?
Oh my goodness. One of my favorite quotes is by Meryl Streep. And she said, take your broken heart and turn it into art. And for me, whether you are sitting down painting with watercolor, whether you are mixing paints and doing an acrylic pour painting, or whether you are journaling, whether you're writing, just getting out your feelings is just so incredibly important, especially now with this year, in the last, almost 2 years. As a society, as humanity, we've all experienced an enormous amount of loss. I've experienced loss in my own life, and fear and all that. But if we keep it all bottled inside, that's a dangerous place to be in. And so even if you don't feel like you write well, write anyway. If you feel like you don't paint well, paint anyway, because that's just going to help those emotions pass and help the time pass too. As we sit there, we have choices. We can sit here and watch the news and watch the doom and gloom, or we could just shut it off and shut off our phones and just paint for an hour. That's going to be so much more beneficial to us all in the long run than it is, to sit in this suffering. And so I think, creativity looks different for everybody. There are days when, writing and journaling is, I just am gravitated toward it. There are days when painting is, I gravitate toward that. So I think it just looks different for everybody in their healing journey, because again, this is, the time we're in now. It's, a lot of people are dealing with a lot of really hard stuff, myself included. And so if we can just take that hour to ourselves or half hour to ourselves and just do that thing for us and just kind of block the world away and block our troubles away, it's going to do us more good than we realize in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. And, maybe shut off Netflix for a few minutes and just do something creative, baking, gardening, painting, writing, whatever it is, right? Just download instead of upload more. Yeah. So you have your marketing business and you have your art business. And so how do you find time then to create with that busy schedule?
Yes and no. I have, in the last few years, I've tried to be really mindful with my time. And so, for example, I'll only take on clients that feed me and that I find energy with. I try and not put like time restrictions on myself. I try not to beat myself up. Like if I haven't painted probably in about 2 weeks, but I have been journaling because that's where I'm gravitating toward. And so like I try and just keep my schedule fluid, and I try very hard to, of course, I've got deadlines. I'm also an adjunct professor as well, so I add that on top of that. And certainly there are deadlines when it comes to that kind of stuff, but at the same time, I try very hard not to overload myself. So I just do a little bit of everything, right? And I'm trying really hard to just to protect my energy and to just really do things that light me up rather than drag me down. So if I get an inquiry from a client saying, oh, I need this service XYZ, and I'm just like, I really don't want to do that, I won't do it. I'll help them find somebody who will, because of course, it's all about connections and it's all about serving the client. But at the end of the day, if it's something that just doesn't light me up, then I want no part of it. If painting to me is going to feel like a slog, if it's going to just feel forced, then I won't do it. So it really goes with truly what is my energy for the day. If I just feel like writing a lot, I'll write. And, if I feel like, for example, one of my goals for 2022 is to research and generate my own NFTs. And so I've been really very, mindful of just educating myself at this point. So whether it's not like actual work, it is just, educating myself so I can take my business further. So I'm not working as hard, right? We want to work smarter, not harder. And so for me, that's kind of where I guess, place my energy, and where it's going to have the most impact. So I'm not burned out. I'm not like just sitting here staring at the wall, like, what the hell am I doing? So, so that's kind of how I, have my time management, which I think is kind of a joke of a word these days, but
It's so true. It's so true.
yeah.
Yeah, I find it, you said NFTs and I was like, oh, I'm doing research on that right now too.
Yeah. It's an exciting time, especially for artists. Like, what an
Yeah.
exciting time. It's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. And so, yeah, we've just been doing some research on that to figure out, can we use artwork we have already? Can we, different things like that to see. Yeah, it's really an exciting thing to look into.
Yeah.
So now you've talked about journaling, because you've been doing that a lot lately. And so how does that help you? Because I'm a huge proponent of journaling. How does that help you with your healing?
Oh my, immensely. Because what I found that is very impactful and insightful as we go through really difficult times. What I found is that when you do get to a really happy and good point in your life, this is a testimony to how far you've come. And for me, just getting your thoughts and your feelings out, because they change every day. Like, let's be honest, especially if you're going through something really difficult, your feelings and emotions are a roller coaster and they change every single day. And so for me, I'm able to look back and reread my journals and be like, oh my God, I cannot believe I got through that. You know what I mean? And so that's how it helps me. It just helps me keep perspective on how far I've come, where I was, where I'm going, what thoughts I had, and really just, again, help get out those emotions. Because I've also heard the saying, what is coming up is leaving. And so if you have a lot of hurt, a lot of anger, a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, when that comes up, it's also leaving and you're releasing it. And so that's how journaling has really helped me in my path of healing, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a huge proponent of journaling, like I said, and I use it with all my programs, regardless of what we're doing, we always add a journaling component to it because I think it's so important. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, the dreaded C word, it's become the new dreaded C word, COVID. How has that changed your creativity, or has it, in the past 2 years now?
That's a great question. I think what has transpired with my own journey, especially in painting, I thought back to that time in 2014 when I started painting and how much it helped me. And so I think with COVID, now I live outside of Tampa Bay, Florida. So we've got sunny, it's sunny and 79 today, right? So like I have the luxury of going out, going on a walk, going to the pool, working on my tan, like I have that luxury. But I also know I have a lot of family and friends up in the Midwest and in the Northeast that don't have that luxury. And so for me, when COVID happened, especially in the fall and in the winter, when everyone was cooped up and they were sick of doing puzzles and they were sick of staying inside and not being able to get out, that inspired me to actually want to help teach people how to paint and watercolor. And so I actually created a course that helps. It's called Tranquil Mind Watercolor Discovery. And it actually helps people cope with, not only it helps them cope with the emotions, the depression, the anger, the anxiety, all these different, emotions that they're feeling during this really scary time. But also it teaches them a new skill. It teaches them how to cope. It teaches them how to tap into their own natural creativity. Because the one thing I hear people say over and over and over and over again is that, well, Megan, I'm just not creative. I don't have a creative bone in my body. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna call you on your BS, because everybody has creativity. It's like riding a bike. It's a skill, right? Some people are better at basketball than others. Some people are better at, playing a musical instrument than others, but everybody can learn. And so, to me, that was important that I helped share how to start in this skill with other people. And so I created the class, and then with that, I think it was in last January, I hosted some live sessions as well, some weekly live sessions, and it was so much fun. It was great. So so that's the one thing that's kind of helped me evolve, is not just going all in on my individual art, but helping to share that with other people so it can help them cope with the madness of the world right now.
Yeah. And that's the one that you're offering to our listeners at 50% off.
Yes, I am. Yes, I'm so excited. So a little bit about the program. Tranquil Mind Watercolor Discovery is a 9-module self-paced watercolor learning experience. And so it's got, obviously the 9 core modules, and each module is based on a different emotion. So for example, if you are feeling angry one day, you can go to the course and do the anger module. And what I've done is I've also paired colors with that emotion. So it can kind of help alleviate. So if you're angry, you're real fiery, you're real wound up. I've used like greens and blues and like the soothing colors. And so that's what's unique and different about the program. I've also incorporated a lot of bonus material. So you learn about different watercolor brushes, and you learn how to mix your paint. You learn, I've included a playlist that you can listen to while you're painting and kind of create this calm environment. And so, so it's not only, how to watercolor paint, but it's also the practical and tactical as well. So there are a lot of really amazing bonuses in there. There's a 30-day calendar inspiration. So if you don't want to do the self-guided modules, you can just go paint on your own. And yeah, so it's real. I'm very proud of it, and I've gotten amazing feedback on the program. And so yeah, I'm happy to offer 50% off to your listeners.
I love that. So we'll make sure that the link and the coupon code is there so that they can do that. So okay. I want to thank you so much for being here today. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
I think what people need to realize specifically about creating anything is that you don't have to be good at it. You don't. I hear so many people say, well, I'm just, I'm not a good writer, and I'm not a good, well, we weren't good runners when we were born, right? It's baby steps. We weren't born, learning how to do a, 100-meter dash. And so I just want people just to not limit themselves because they think they're not good at something. I look at some of my first watercolor paintings when I started, and they're terrible, but that didn't stop me from continuing. And now they're like pretty decent, right? And so now also too, and you can expand into different areas of art as well. So if you, try watercolor and it doesn't speak to you, that's totally fine. You could do acrylic pouring, or you could do pastels, or you could just dabble and just see what speaks to you. So that's the first thing I would say. And the second thing I would say is that, again, we are going through such just a dark time, and we've been in this dark time for a while. And it's not just COVID. It's, people are losing their jobs. People are losing loved ones. There's an enormous amount of loss that is happening in our world. And it's just very, very sad. But if you can find one thing that can bring you a little bit of joy, then that's a successful day. That's showing up for yourself. And it's just being, it's really showing yourself a lot of love that we all really need right now.
I love that. Yeah. That's exactly what we need right now.
Yeah.
I love that. So thank you so much again for being here today.
Thank you so much, Larissa. I appreciate you having me.
Yes. To our listeners, we'll see you again next time. And in the meantime, I wish for you amazingly creative days. Thank you for listening. If you found our podcast of interest, we'd love for you to leave a review wherever you listen in.